Madam Chairman, members, this bill requires assistance to be provided by the California National Guard and the California Department of Veterans Affairs to active service members and veterans who are non-citizens and request assistance in becoming a U.S. citizen. The point is to keep our promises to those who have served and are serving our nation's armed forces regarding citizenship, health care, and other benefits that are attached to their service. All servicemen in the nation's military experience the highs and lows of the service, include any number of service-connected disabilities in their sacrifice, and it should be honored. To deny these servicemen the benefits earned by their service is just plain wrong and not keeping with the promises of a grateful nation. With me today is the sponsors, AMVETS, and Pete Conity. He can answer further questions and answer additional information.
Madam Chairman, members, thank you. You're all familiar with Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez's bill, which is taking state funds to help our deported veterans get back into the country. This bill is a modest effort for our California National Guard and CalVet to help those immigrants who have served in our nation's military to ensure that they get their citizenship if they want it. If they want it. But the services have not done a good job of informing these immigrant soldiers and sailors and airmen and that they need to fill out the paperwork. And like many things, when you leave the service, you get told you need to do 40 or 50 things to make sure you get your benefits, your VA card, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't always pay attention at that time. And with me today are other people wanting to testify and support. Go.
Colonel Lorna Grease, representing Military Officers Association, California Council of Chapters. We support this bill, feel it's necessary for these young people to get their citizenship if they want it.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of this committee. My name is Don Harper. I represent the American Legion Department, California, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, committee members. My name is Dean Gotham. I'm the first Vice President for the California State Council of Vietnam Veterans of America. We strongly support this bill.
All right, do we have any other speakers in support? Any speakers in opposition? Questions from the members? Mr. Chavez?
Yes, Senator Anderson, I know there was a lot of emails flying around prior to this bill, and it had to do with the issue of what was the role of the California Department of Veteran Affairs. Can you describe actually what you expect them to do?
I'm going to defer to the sponsor, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The CalTAP program, as you know, has developed a very vigorous outline to inform veterans in California their benefits. Actually, I attended a briefing where they have a 30-year life cycle of getting to veterans. I guess the question is, how much is it going to cost? And because the bill was 28.8 out of the Senate, I'm kind of assuming they looked at it and they thought it wouldn't cost that much. I'm also assuming that not that many people will be affected by this bill, and therefore we want the bill to go to the Assembly Appropriations so that they can put a price tag on it. And if we need to amend the bill based on that price tag, we can do so at that time.
Well, that wasn't my question, though.
Okay.
I didn't ask you how much it costs or how many people it is. My specific question was, what do you expect the California Department of Veteran Affairs to do?
I expect them, if the bill passed, to look at it and make a decision on what they can do, maybe draft regulations on what they're willing to do and what they have the capability of doing, and we go from there.
So let's go a little bit more into this. Now, the main reason we're doing this is to deal with the issue of immigration, right?
We're doing this so people who have served our country and gotten the promise of citizenship can get their citizenship, so they don't end up getting deported when they have a brush with the law.
Well, I'd just like to add in, part of the reason why I'm doing it, Assemblyman, is so many of our service members are coming back with traumatic brain injury or PTSD, and that VA health care is important to them, and it's important to making them whole. They entered our service as whole people, and they came back broken, and I want to ensure that we keep our promise that anybody that defends our liberty, that we'll stand up by them and make them whole. And if they get deported because they, through a snafu of their own, do not fill out the paperwork or not aware that they have to fill out the paperwork. You know, many of these service members, all of them, started every morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. And now they just assume that they are U.S. citizens when they're not. So as a result, they decide to go down to Mexico to do a little surfing or whatever, and they get caught at the border because they're not a U.S. citizen. And we're denying them their access to health care. And I think that's wrong. That's why I'm doing this bill. Why AMVETS and the other service members may have a slightly different reason why they support it, but that's why I'm doing this bill.
Well, having served 28 years in the Marine Corps and having commanded 9 different units, I don't recall every day that we're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. But that put aside, and I also don't believe that anybody made a promise, having been involved in recruitment for 4 years, no one made any promises to anything. But that's not was my question. My question was, what do you expect the California Department of Veteran Affairs to do as far as immigration? Because I think, I'll give you a lead into it, I think the issue is that if you're there to help somebody, which I'm all for helping people, and if somebody desires us, have no problem helping doing that. But immigration, filling out immigration is a rather long and lengthy process. It takes a lot of detailed work. Having been I first ran across this when I was a young captain, and I had a Marine corporal meritorious who was from Haiti. He was one of the Haitian boat people who was not here legally, and having to gone through the requirement to get him to be a citizen, who was meritoriously promoted to lance corporal and corporal. That took me over a year of intense effort with immigration to make sure that happened. So what I don't want to do is set up people for a false promise or expect something from CDVA, which they're not prepared to do. So that's why I'm asking the question, what do you expect? Because if I remember right, the amendment that I had asked you to take was, if we were to provide information to people, I'm good with that. I can see a little pamphlet that says, here it is, you know, you're right to apply for citizenship. That's totally appropriate. But if we expect the California Department of Veteran Affairs to have somebody fill out paperwork for immigration, knowing how long it takes, you could actually hurt people, much like, as I'm sure Mr. Connie knows, that one of the problems we have with comp and pen for veterans is that we have a number of people doing it who are good-intentioned, who haven't been kept up to date, and once you start down that process, you can actually hurt somebody by not being prepared to do it right to get them their benefits. So what is your expectation for the California Department of Veteran Affairs to help with immigration?
Thank you, sir. First, let me mention that since you were a young captain, the law has changed. President George Bush is the one who changed the law to allow, after 9/11, for immigrants to serve, illegal aliens in our country to serve in the military with a promise of citizenship when they got out.
It wasn't a promise. It was the ability that they could apply, and if they were of honorable service not honorable service, but recommended, then they could apply for citizenship. So it wasn't a promise.
The other point I would like to make is we're not really talking about immigration, we're talking about naturalization. They're already in the country, they're already legal aliens, and so it's a matter of naturalization, not I don't believe, a long involved immigration process. I will tell you that the U.S. Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton is doing a fantastic job of fast-tracking these individuals to citizenship. As a matter of fact, Congressman Duncan Hutter told me that they had a ceremony on the Midway where there were 2,000 Marines who were naturalized in one ceremony. So I don't think the
Actually, that
cost-
relates to what I said earlier about the military, their leadership taking upon the responsibility of getting their Marines their citizenship, which I agree, because that takes a long process to do. I wasn't talking about the Department of Defense. I was talking about the California Department of Veteran Affairs being involved in naturalization or immigration, how we do this. And as you also know, having been in recruiting, not everybody who is recruited in the military has a valid naturalization card. It's one of the little things. There's been a number of stories done on that as far as recruitment.
that may well be true, but technically you cannot join the military unless you're in the country legally.
Yeah, and you know how that works with recruiters. But back to my CDVA question, what is the role with the California Department of Veteran Affairs? That's why I asked you to take the amendment, to provide the information, let it go. But I could see a role for the Department of Defense, which Hunter's talking about. I could see a role for California Department of Veteran Affairs providing information. But when we start going into the issue of filling out forms or whatever, then that's where we're going to have a problem, because I think you're going to actually hurt people and not help them. That's why I requested the amendment.
Well, I think it's of course up to the senator, but my recommendation is that we look at that issue as the bill moves forward to appropriations.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? Why don't we first go ahead? We have a quorum right now.
Irwin,
Here.
Chavez. Daly. Frazier. Gloria. Marisucci. Quirk-Silva. Salas. Vopel.
All right, so we did, the amendments that Assemblymember Chavez was talking about, I think addressed specifically what his issue is, and I understand you are not willing to take that amendment at the current time.
Well, I'd like to get to appropriations, have them put a dollar figure to it. In the Senate, it was 28'd out because they didn't see a dollar figure to it. They felt that the infrastructure was in place and there was no pushback saying that they need more resources. So, and I believe that we're giving them some flexibility in coming up with their own plan. We're not telling them how to do it. We're saying that we want to see a plan moving forward. So I think that we've addressed some of this. If it becomes problematic, absolutely, I'd be happy to go back and revisit it. If it comes up in appropriations as being costly, of course, then we would shift gears because we want to ensure that those service members are taken care of.
All right, so I will go ahead and support the bill and understand that we do have, I think that Assemblymember Chavez brings up an excellent point that
I
role
agree.
needs to be clarified. All right, so I will enter, did we have a motion? Assemblymember Frazier and a second, Assemblymember Quirk. And the motion is due pass to appropriations.
Irwin.
Aye.
Irwin, aye. Chavez. No. Chavez, no. Daly. Aye. Daly, aye. Frazier. Aye. Frazier, aye. Gloria. Aye. Gloria, aye. Marisucci. Aye. Marisucci, aye. Quirk-Silva. Aye. Quirk-Silva, aye. Salas. Aye. Salas, aye. Vopel. Aye. Vopel, aye. It's 8-0.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Thank you, Senator.